Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back to Reds Country Radio Opening Day 2025 edition. We are back. I'm Donnie, helping you get the hype train going here at ATBBTTR Reds Country Radio. We're back, another season. Let's bring in Steve, Rob. How you guys doing?
We're on the precipice of opening day, gentlemen. We're right there. It's so close, I can almost taste it.
I'm feeling wonderful, and on the day that you are listening to this show, I said Bearcats. The Reds are going to be playing a game that won't be televised, but against the Dayton Dragons. So a little start to early start to the season there. So man, it is just on the precipice here, and I can't wait. It'll be nice to just have it back in our lives once again.
Yeah, Rob, are you going down to the game?
Yes, I will be in attendance.
I will see you before the game for sure. I still want to go in, but I don't have a ticket yet. The prices are a little high right now.
They're a little steep. Yeah,
hopefully.
I was looking around just out of curiosity. I was looking around, and I saw the cheapest ticket on SeatGeek was like $145.
I saw standing room only for like 120-ish, but maybe I wasn't even looking at fees and all that. But yeah, it's I don't know. We'll see. My brother, I was texting my brother. He said, "Let's pray for rain," which I think you would need like just a little sprinkle or something, enough for them to play the game, but maybe enough for them to kind of clear it out a little bit. I don't know.
Gotcha.
It might be a little chilly. That could scare some people off.
Yeah, I saw it was supposed to be like in the mid to low 50s, perhaps.
Yeah. If I know Reds fans though, considering what was it 2 or 3 seasons ago, it was like 35 degrees or something ridiculous, and it was still packed. So
yeah.
I don't know if that'll
work. Because I was looking, because I don't know if you boys remember this, but a couple of years ago the game did get moved back to Friday, and so a couple of people, myself included, did the doubleheader of opening day, and then it was fan appreciation night at the Cyclones game right after. So you walked over from GABP and then you got like dollar beer. Well, at that time it was dollar beers and dogs. So nice little deal there. But no Cyclones game this upcoming Friday. So.
I remember the first year that you and I went. We were in college, so I think it was maybe the 2015 opener. I know Homer Bailey started. I remember it being like really, really cold. Like we were sitting like in the 400 section, just like the wind was just blowing off the river, like right in my face.
Yeah, that'll do it.
No,
that's the true Midwest early, end of March experience.
Have I got so Don? I'm gonna tell you this story and wishing you some good luck on Thursday. Maybe a fortuitous bounce will come your way. But I had a buddy in college who was working security at Jefferson Social right there, on the banks on that street. And so we were just texting, and like I was just catching up with him, see how he was going. And then he texted me about like 10 minutes before the game. He was like, "Do you want to go to the game?" I was like, "Yes, how?" And so I guess he was working security, and these two dudes at Jefferson Social had gotten so drunk that they could not like get up from their seats. So this was back in paper ticket time, 2018 or so, I'd say. They handed my friend their 2 tickets. They're like, "Go enjoy the game." So that was my first time ever going to opening day too. Complete stroke of luck. Lost that one. That was against the Nationals, but I was like 3 rows back in right field in the sun deck. So like that was man, that was a hell of a day. And you know what, to be honest, I have not gone to an opening day since the one I went to with you guys back in 2019. So it's been a minute.
Yeah, we got to get you back here, Steve. I hear I'll just say the rumors are starting to circle that Steve might move from Arizona to Cincinnati sometime, let's say, in the future. Then that is within reason.
My statehood status is currently in the transfer portal. So no, not yet.
Steve, I'm glad I was able to come visit you earlier this month. Finally did what Rob did a couple of years ago and made my way out to Arizona. I was there for work reasons, but I'm glad I was able to go a day early, hang out with you a little bit, and we went and saw a game at Goodyear, and I thought that was a really cool experience. It was tickets were great. We were right by the dugout watching Tito talk to some people. I thought it was a great day.
Yeah, and we got to see him have about a 15-minute conversation with some random guy that came up to him. They must have known each other, right?
Yeah.
Because usually those guys are like pretty locked in, and they're not talking to anybody before the game. Even for spring training, they're kind of. And he had to be reminded to go out for the national anthem because he was just locked in a conversation with this guy. So safe to say that Tito and the boys are feeling pretty loose and pretty ready to go before opening day this week.
I was slightly disappointed. There was none of the offensive starters played that day. I think there was a split squad the day before, and everybody had maybe played a few days in a row, and they still at that point weren't giving them, a full week straight of games and all that. But we did get to see Hunter Green start, so that was great. He looked good. I'm excited for him starting on opening day. We did miss. We scooted out at the 8th inning or so to make it back to watch Bearcats basketball lose a game. Sad. But we did miss seeing Chase Burns throw, but overall great experience.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and Rob can attest to it too. That stadium is a lot. It's pretty cool. Rob, the cheese conies though are 2 for $13.
That was the other. We went micro viral posting about that. Could not believe the sign there. It does imply that you only get one cheese coney just from the sign. Apparently, it's 2.
It's
still
2.
Still not a great deal. 2 for $13, but hey, you got to do what you got to do when you're 2,000 miles away from Cincinnati.
Especially what was the beer? Was the beer pricing okay?
The beer price was similar to the price of 2 cheese conies, I think.
So $12-13 or whatever.
But it was a pretty tall pour draft beer, so it was good.
I think the beers that we got when we went, Steve, I think they were 24 ounces. If I'm not mistaken.
That was the same thing. Yep.
Yeah, we got a draft beer, and then we swapped over to the domestic 24-ounce bad boys.
Yep.
Got to chatting with this guy. I guess he was from Cincinnati, but he
grew up
there, all about his life being living out west and all over the place, and started talking about old Reds teams. And I don't even really know what we talked about. He was an interesting cat. People you meet that live in Arizona, man, it's a fun place.
I enjoyed my time there.
Yeah, there's definitely some people here for sure. You can run into a few stories here and there.
It's a state with people.
Yeah, definitely.
That's right.
We were talking about opening day real quick, and I was just curious, boys, like, we've been growing up and raised as Reds fans, so we've been able to experience this holiday every year. So, Donnie, I'll start with you first. What does opening day mean to you as a Reds fan?
Yeah, I mean, opening day, of course, it's cheesy and it sounds cliche, but to me, it's family. Just the Reds in general are a big, my brothers and I have a, chat with our dad. We're constantly talking about every game. We try to go watch games together. Whether it's on TV, on the couch, or in person. My dad's probably taken me to dozens of games over the years. He was one who taught me to play the game of baseball. My grandpa, who I was named after and has since passed, took me to my first game when I was 3 years old. And so there's a lot of good memories there. I remember my dad had never actually gone to opening day because it was always like just like a thing that didn't feel accessible. It was always kind of expensive tickets, and he wasn't the most well off when he was younger, and then he just got busy with the family, and he never had gone. And so I was able to take him to his first opening day, just a handful of years ago, and the joy on his face and the way we were able to kind of connect over that, I will never forget all that. And we've seen some great moments together, and I've been in person with you guys to see some great games. We saw I was there for the Elly De La Cruz cycle game. I saw the fight behind home plate like a dozen years ago in person. So being able to go down there and see the crowd and be there in person and, not just watching the game on TV. I think of all the games I've been to in person, and I think of the people I've shared that with mostly. And so family, my brothers, my dad, and my grandpa all share that Reds kind of bond. And it's kind of, it's the thing that's tied us together for all these years. And so the Reds will always hold a special place in my heart, even when they're winning 60 games a year.
Very well said, Don. I'm not sure if I can top that. As you guys know, and as maybe some of our listeners know, I'm not from Cincinnati originally. I grew up north here in a small town called Versailles, Ohio. Very much Reds country. The Reds are very much a big deal. I didn't really realize how big of a deal opening day was down here until I, went to UC and started, just going down to the banks. I think I started at maybe 2015-ish. It's when I started coming down to the banks. Didn't really go to a game. Don, you took me to my very first opening day game as we were talking before we hit record. I think it was 2016, maybe. Homer Bailey started that game. I remember it being like really, really cold. But yeah, it's like kind of cliche. You hear this phrase get kicked around a lot, how it's like a civic holiday here, and it really feels like that. It's a great event for the city. Makes me feel more connected to the city and the culture of the area. And just on top of just being a monster Reds fan, on top of it, and being around other people who are also huge Reds fans, and just seeing the sea of people down there is incredible. I love people watching. The people watching's great. So I think I've gone to every opening day, or at least been down at the banks for every opening day, I think since 2015. So I think this is my 10th year in a row being down there. And it's certainly an event I look forward to every year. It's circled on my calendar. I take the day off work and the next day off work for it. It's great. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Love it. Steve, what about you?
Yeah. Since I've been away, and Don, you can relate to this as well. It's and you were able to visit every opening day, even when you were living away from home. And so that's pretty cool that you've been able to do that. And it's just, to me, it means that, summer is finally coming, and that, baseball is back again. And I don't know, of all the sports, and I enjoy a lot watching sports. I enjoy a lot of sports, but there's something about baseball to me that just really means a lot to me. Like, even with something like, my dad showing me like Field of Dreams when I was a kid, or me playing, wiffle ball in the yard, and like, the Reds are just my baseball team. We definitely have lived through a bunch of different ups and downs, peaks and valleys, as some might call it, with this team. But at the end of the day, I'm still wearing my gear. I still got my hat. Like, it's something that really marks the start of a summer of opportunity. And there's the saying that hope springs eternal, but it really culminates on opening day. Anything feels possible. 162-0, if you win that game, is not out of it. It's theoretically possible. So I think it's just that the hope, it gets me excited every year to see what happens. And then especially when we win on opening day, man, it's great. Like last year's game, for example, Nick Martini hitting the 2 home runs on opening day. Just it's such a party atmosphere. The game that we all went to in 2019 with Derek Dietrich hitting the home run in the 8th inning. Like, even the games I've gone to for opening day when they've lost has been just such a special atmosphere, because unfortunately we haven't been able to see much playoff baseball in Cincinnati over the last 15 or so years, and that's like the one day a year every year where it feels like a playoff atmosphere, and I just want that back for the playoffs. So that's just how much I enjoy how focus shifts just for at least one day to everybody is in on the Reds that day. So it's
one of my favorite
exciting, man.
One of my favorite opening day memories was sitting in left field with you guys. That was the Dietrich home run game, and Yasiel Puig's first at bat as a Red. And after a couple pitches, he stepped out of the box and he looked in the left field line. He licked his bat, and we all went crazy. I remember that distinctly.
Yep. Yeah.
It is crazy how. Being at a packed ballpark is a different experience. We're so used to, as Reds fans, unfortunately, going to like a Tuesday night game and there's only 10,000 people there total. I hope we can get back to having more games that aren't that are filled up this season. 2 years ago, when Elly debuted and we got really hot there, they were packing the ballpark every night, and that was crazy. That was I think for a while there was a stretch there. Even when the teams weren't bad, and COVID is maybe a little to blame of that. When we had our good stretch there, it was kind of a weird time in the world, let's say, where it still didn't feel like we had like that total support. The Bengals were hot. They went to the Super Bowl in 21. FC Cincinnati was winning the MLS or doing better. And it felt like even if the Reds were going to start playing better, maybe the city had given up on them. Absolutely not true. For one, you see that every year with opening day. But 2 years ago, when we started getting hot, the city responded. And for better or worse, you got to win to get that response. It's taken and given. And Reds fans are great fans, but sometimes it just doesn't always feel worth it to go down to the ballpark. And I get that. It's frustrating. And there's a lot of fans that watch every single game on the TV and just don't feel like taking that next step to actually go to the ballpark. And I think we could get that back this year. So I'm excited to talk about the roster, talk about our outlook for the season, and get into that. And I think we can get back to having that opening day atmosphere for a lot more than just one game this year.
Hell yeah.
Yep. I was looking back at my my MLB ballpark app history from last year just to see how many games I went to, and I think the last game that I attended at GABP was like the last week of July. So Don, building off that point you just made of you got to win to get the respect, like felt like the season was pretty much over with by the end of July. So like, what was the point of going still?
Right. And that's one thing we talked about. I feel like we talked about a lot early in this podcast. A handful of seasons ago. It's like, man, we just want to play meaningful games all the way through the end of the summer. We were sick of the season being over in July. Like, I just want to be in the mix in September, even if we don't make it, which is kind of a sad way to view things. But just want to be part of the discussion. I want the national media to be talking about the Reds again. It doesn't always happen. So,
yeah, and speaking of that roster, like just having a guy like Elly, like we're being featured on graphics. He's on the cover of MLB The Show. Like, this is just something that I think a lot of Reds fans probably have never experienced. Is like people talk about our team, mostly because Ellie's on the team, but people are talking about our team. So it's kind of cool to have that, And on Wednesday night when I fire up my annual viewing of Major League right before the season starts, I think I'm definitely going to have that in mind, and especially with Tito coming over from Cleveland, it definitely just feels like a different vibe this year, and so hopefully I'm right.
For sure. The national media may like Elly, but they don't necessarily agree that we're going to be that great. I was scrolling through Twitter looking for some stuff to prepare, and I came across the Fangraphs projected standings for 2025. And I think I had known the number, but I didn't really see it in context. They have us winning 78 games and finishing in last place in the NL Central. Cubs in first, Brewers in second, Cardinals in third, Pirates in fourth. And I don't really think that's going to happen. But in their defense, it's pretty tight. They have the Cubs winning the NL Central with only 83 wins. So having nearly 80 losses and coming in first place, it's a pretty tight division. And it feels like it always is, the NL Central, which is kind of frustrating as a fan because you're one bad stretch from being in last place in the division, and you're one good stretch from being right in the mix. But it seems like we have a little few more of those bad stretches, and they just kind of make you feel like you're out of it, even if you're really not, just because you're in last place. So I don't think this projection is going to come to pass, but we'll get into our actual numbers on what we think will happen towards the end. But thought that was interesting that the national media might be pretty high on one player, but there's still a lot of doubt around the team, even with new manager Terry Francona. I think that helps a lot, but overall, I still don't really see the Reds getting that respected.
Yeah, it's and I kind of want to talk about it when we're talking about like the roster and what we'll have, but I think there is definitely some skepticism about the lack of talent the Reds have outside of those couple players that,
True.
we have younger guys. And so I maybe I don't fully disagree. Like we can, I'm just looking at our roster compared to other teams who were like projected to be good. And I can definitely see why people think that, and we can have our upside of the Reds, and I think a lot of our friends / fellow nerds on Reds Twitter like definitely have upside on the team. But I think that's like the thing about baseball is that you can like be so in on your team and look in and be like, oh yeah, wow, these guys are awesome, like they're going to be great, and then you like expand out and look at the other teams, you're like, oh wow, we don't have as much as like these other teams. So I don't know, Rob, like am I being too expansionist there? Should I be more stuck in my red rose-colored glasses era and think more highly of these boys?
No, it is fun to look at this lineup through rose-colored glasses. I mean, I've been doing it all season too, or this whole entire off season at least. But if you take the 30,000-foot view and you look out, there's still a lot of question marks on this roster right now. If you look at maybe the projecting starting lineup for opening day, you got Encarnacion and Strand playing first base. He's a projected starter. What he only played barely 20 games last year. Jamer Candelario, he slumped all last year. He didn't turn it on until June, it seemed like. They brought in Austin Hayes to bat fourth in this lineup. There's a lot of question marks there. He looked good this spring, but I don't know if that's great if you're bringing a guy off the street to bat fourth in your lineup. Spencer Steer starting on the IL. Alexis Diaz is starting on the IL. They have no set closer right now, it seems like. Andrew Abbott's behind, it's looking like. And the starting rotation isn't what we thought it was going to be to start the season. Obviously, yeah, it's great to be excited about the team, but objectively, there's still a lot of question marks and a lot to be proven still.
Yeah, we did get hit with the injury bug a little bit towards the end of spring training, like we did last year. But I would say we're in a lot better spot. Not losing anybody catastrophically. I don't think anybody that you listed it should be out past the month of April, I'll say. And that's even aggressive. I think it should only be a couple weeks for most of those guys.
Even Stevenson.
Yeah, Tyler Stevenson, hopefully not too long. Kind of unfortunate. Did Trevino go down too?
No, he had that scare shortly after Stevenson got hurt. They thought he broke his thumb. They gave him an MRI and it came back negative. So he's fine. He's the projected starting catcher on opening day.
So Jose Trevino, who we picked up in the offseason and then extended. So he went from a 1-year deal to a 3-year deal, which I think is great. I think he's a good ball player. I think from what I hear, the pitchers really like working with him. So he's going to be your opening day catcher and signed to extension all before ever playing in a Reds uniform. So, but
yeah, the thing that's interesting to me is just looking at Stevenson, like a lot of his projections have him anywhere between 1.6 to 2.6 WAR, and that's like a lot to lose, even for a little bit of the season. And then same with Steer, his projections have him, it's loading for me, but just to compare to Trevino's projected at 2, which is great, but having Tyler Stevenson is a guy who probably has like a 1.5 to 2 baseline. It could get even higher throughout the rest of the year, but just looking at this roster, guys, TJ Friedel projected 2.2 WAR, Matt McClain projected 3.6, Elly projected 3.9, but there's no one else that's over 1.3 WAR other than Trevino, like I mentioned. So that is definitely and I don't want to be too much of a quant head to just worry about WAR. Spencer Steer, by the way, projected to have about 1.4 WAR this year by Fangraphs, but I agree. I don't really want to just base everything off of one site, because I do like Fangraphs, but they've been known to be wrong in the past, and then they operate off of different models. And Don, the other thing too that you brought up is just how the injuries can affect us. I think that would just hurt right away to have it is going to hurt to have Steer and Stevenson go down right away. And then Steer, it seems like a similar issue, honestly, to Matt McClain, where we ended up losing him. It's not the same exact thing, but it's that shoulder that's bothering Steer right
now. The pessimists on Twitter started saying the whole I've seen this before. How long into the season until we hear about him having season-ending surgery? It always seems like, it'll just be out a couple weeks. He's going to be right in there. And then suddenly he's out half the season or the full season.
There's something with that injury doesn't quite pass the smell test with me personally. I think there's a little more there than what we're being led to believe.
Well, and that's the worrying part too, right? Is that, if this continues to happen, are they what's going on? And I don't want to be a pessimist. I want to believe that he's just going to take first 2 weeks, get back and fully play, but it seems like it's been nagging him all through. It was nagging him all through 2024, and he just played through it. But now it's just too much where he's hurt. So I'm just hopeful that maybe if he gets back in. I think he saw live pitching a few weeks ago. So he's such a big part of this offense. So we need him back.
Yes, I know he DH'd a few times this spring, but he didn't play the field, I don't think.
What are your thoughts on the rumored? I don't know that there's any legit rumors, but people have talked about going out and getting JD Martinez, still a free agent, to exclusively DH, but just kind of provide an extra bat, especially while we're dealing with some injuries. I think he could fit into the lineup nicely.
I think he could, but you got to convince ownership to pay $10 million for a 37-year-old DH. I don't think they're going to do that.
That's fair. That's a good response.
I haven't read the promoted tweet about JD Martinez changing his entire. Have you guys seen that? Like in the replies of like random ass tweets, it's like I interviewed JD Martinez and his like I'd have to find it and send it to you guys, but I don't hate it. I would wonder if he would really be able to provide an everyday bat for you, like you said, at 37. And I would wonder if they would probably try to let Cess become that everyday DH / third baseman. But I think the other thing that would be intriguing to me, that it's probably not going to happen, but if they were to go out and get like a Luis Robert or something like that right before the season, or like the first couple weeks into the season, they strike quickly, and because I feel that's been the problem in the past few years, is that we see the fans see the issues and the players see the issues, but the front office acts either like right at the end of the trade deadline, or maybe like a week or so before, and doesn't really do anything about it. And we've seen that teams who have been more proactive have been able to add those players earlier on into their lineups, and have been able to get more out of those additions early on. And my favorite example of that is when the Brewers got Willy Adames in 21, and they seemed to that was kind of like the tipping point there. They seemed to take off, whereas we were still good, but it was still like a few wins behind them, obviously. So I would kind of hope that our front office has seen that and says, okay, we've been reactive in the past and we've waited. Why don't we try to go get proactive now? Right. Because like this is a year where you've got all of your young guys still on relatively good deals, and you should look to have some space to, and I know we're prospect huggers, but this should be a year where you should be aggressive, because to be honest, I think I've said it for all 7 seasons of this podcast, this division does not scare me 1 second. I know we suck, but I still feel like there's a lot of room for optimism within this division, because I don't think many of the other teams are very good. And I know it's been publicly mentioned that the Cardinals want to trade away Arenado and Gray and some of their other guys. The Cubs are already 0-2 to start this season. How are they going to dig out of that hole? It's already a tough start, but and then the Brewers traded away, Devin Williams. They've lost multiple pieces over the years, and maybe they'll just reload and be the Brewers. And
they always
seem to always
could be the case.
But to me, this is a time to be aggressive when the rest of this division is not doing anything. Be proactive and go do something early, especially if these injury issues keep persisting, because this is a welcome chance for you to get in the playoffs with this young core that you have.
I agree. So I want to let's go kind of to the kind of bottom end of the lineup. They are going to find some ways to fill in those outfield spots, and so believe it or not, with even with Steer out, the last lineup spot is basically coming down to outfielders. There are 3 guys in the mix for 2 spots. Apparently, it hasn't been determined yet. Who knows if they're making an announcement any day? But it's I believe it's Blake Dunn, Jacob Hurtubise, and our guy Stu Fairchild. Hurtubise and Blake Dunn are having great springs. Dunn's a righty, Hurtubise is a lefty. Fairchild's a righty and hits lefties really well, although overall has not had a great spring. Fairchild is also out of options. The other guys have options. How do you guys see those last spots shaking out?
I think Hurtubise might slide into one of those last spots. He's had a really good spring. Tito seems to like him a lot. Just from what I've seen, I think he played decently well when he was up last year. I think he's kind of a no-brainer. Or not say like a no-brainer, but I think he slides into like the last spot, in my opinion, at least.
Currently, Fangraphs has Blake Dunn taking that last spot. So, but I would go against Fangraphs here, and I would agree with you, Rob, that I really like what Hurtubise has done, and then he's like one of those traditional Terry guys that Francona can just put him literally anywhere on the diamond, and he can give you a few outs or give you a few productive plays, get on base. Like, he reminds me of kind of like an Alejo Lopez of the past, where he where he just consistent singles hitter. He's going to get on base, but if the Reds want to continue this running game that they've tried to instill over the last few years, especially with Elly, I feel that Hurtubise would be a better option for that instead of Blake Dunn. I know Blake Dunn is no slouch. He does run well, and he did take a couple bags last year, but I wonder if Hurtubise would fit better into that overall running game.
Yeah, Hurtubise had 5 stolen bases in spring. He batted .289 in 38 at bats.
What about Mr. Dunn there? Do you know what his numbers were by chance?
Let me look him up.
I would want to keep Stu though. By the way, just because you're right, he is out of options, and he was such a solid, right-handed bat for us against left-handed.
I think it's 2 spots between the 3 of those guys. So,
correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I think they keep Stu just because of the options thing, honestly, and because then you can hold on to all 3 players. And I would like to see Hurtubise make it, and Blake Dunn, he'll find a way to make it onto the roster. But he is having the best spring out of all of them. Rob, I have it right here.
I got it up now.
Bat with an OPS of 978 on the spring, slugging 574. He's looked good.
Yeah, I think that we probably need some power on that last spot. So if they choose to opt for power with a little bit more, with maybe a little bit less speed and positional versatility, but more power, then I'm good with that, because the Reds have lacked power over the last few years, and it seems like ever since the Castellanos and Winker year, they have not really had a consistent, power hitter in their the home run hitter, at least in their lineup. So,
and I trust that whatever decision they make will be kind of in line specifically with what Terry Francona wants and how he would use that bench. So I think it'll work out.
Yeah. I mean, my dream would be for us to have Blake Dunn go hit 15 bombs this year and be a huge addition. But I kind of want to put my trust in Tito and see what happens.
Cool. The rest of the outfield, let's see, Austin Hayes, who has had a great spring as well. I think that's been a little surprising. I think we talked about him in our last podcast as let's see what happens. It was kind of a good little signing there. But I don't think we had crazy high expectations. And spring training is spring training. But I think, like we said, if he does kind of slot into that cleanup role pretty well, that could be great for the team.
But let me turn that back on you real quick. So our friends at Chatterbox Sports were talking about this, and this is a topic they've brought up a few times, but they've talked about it with a couple of our other fellow Twitter nerds / friends. They've been talking about how they do not like the Reds outfield, and I put it on our bottom line here, which you can watch on YouTube if you're watching us at youtube.com/ATBBTTR. They asked the simple question, does our outfield suck? And while I don't think it's bad, I would not call it a top 10 positional group in Major League Baseball. I think they're probably not a top 15 positional group. I really like TJ, but you're hoping for a bounce back year from Jake Fraley and Austin Hayes. You're hoping for bounce back years for both of them. What do you guys think about that? Do you think our outfield sucks?
I think it's too early to say that they suck per se. Like I said earlier, to kind of kick off the segment, there's a lot of question marks there. TJ Friedl was hurt a lot. Jake Fraley was dealing with the off the field stuff with his family. So obviously that took a toll on him. Blake Dunn is still young. Jacob Hurtubise is still young and unproven. Stuart Fairchild's a platoon player at best. I think
Benson still has some potential.
Beeman's got some potential if he decides he wants to play the sport still. I think they have a lot of hopes written on TJ Friedl and Austin Hayes to have bounce back years and kind of carry the mail in the outfield. But I think that might be kind of a tall task for him yet. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. With the spring that Austin Hayes has had, it's certainly been promising. But like the biggest thing I'm looking for right now is if TJ Friedel can stay healthy, because he's your leadoff hitter and he's going to be the guy that can the straw that kind of stirs the drink in the outfield, if you will.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. He was so huge for us in 23 when he was healthy, and you can definitely tell that we kind of took a lag when he wasn't. And I would love for him to be able to be fully healthy, because I think that was a problem too last year as well, as we missed him a lot.
What I will say is, I mean, yeah, so it's not a year where we have, a guy like Jesse Winker and Nick Castellanos out there. Like, it's kind of a more elite position group in the past. And a lot of teams have their best hitters as one of their corner outfielders. And that's not the case for this team, but it doesn't mean they don't have great hitters. Some of those Reds teams in the past that had great outfielders didn't have very good infielders outside of Joey Votto, who was, getting old. And, the third base position was a revolving door of middling players. We've got Elly De La Cruz. We've got, Christian Encarnacion Strand. We've got Matt McClain. We've got some good hitters in the rest of the lineup. We've got a DH spot. That's maybe not the best attitude, because good teams have all-star contenders at every position, including the outfield and infield. But I think those guys, if they play to their potential, can do well enough that it's not like a glaring weakness. Having it be a good enough is maybe not the best, but
it'll be good. It'll be good enough to compete in the NL Central, I think.
Yeah, and my pushback on that to my own self here is always just like, well, that's frustrating, because it just means you're going to get smoked in the playoffs. Like, I don't want to only make the playoffs because our division's so bad. I'd love to be able to compete one day with the Dodgers of the world, and with this outfield, you probably aren't doing that.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is, like, the same, like you just said, Don, with the playoff problem. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think a team from the Central has advanced in the postseason since the Cardinals in 2019 went to the NLCS. I don't think any team has advanced in the NL from the Central in the playoffs, and I can think about that. But it's just one of those things where it's more frustrating that, and I've seen some Pirates fans talking about this too, because they have a young core with some studs on it as well, and their ownership is not aggressive. It seems like these 5 teams have decided to just not be aggressive and just be like, all right, well, we'll just get in and see what happens. I mean, the Cubs made a couple moves, but that's the problem with me right now. And looking at our own team, is that they definitely could have, like, I feel like 1 or 2 more impactful signings could have really put this team over the top. And we're going to trust Tito, and somehow he'll figure it out and make it work, and we'll be like, putting together something. But if you didn't have to, and then you had Tito, I feel like those 2 things would have made it just even better. I mean, I'm not, I know I'm not providing the extra $20 million for us to go and sign, whoever, like Teoscar Hernandez or something like that. But I really wish that there had been a little bit extra investment toward that goal this year.
But if there's anybody that could do more with less, it is Terry Francona. He did it his entire time in Cleveland. 2 very similar ran organization, like the Reds, where they kind of penny pinchers and they don't want to spend if they don't have to. And he had to survive in that environment, and took him to the World Series and almost won it.
And I was going to say, if this outfield, if this team in general is good enough to at least keep us in the mix, hopefully, like you're saying, this is the year they go out and get some of those big players at the trade deadline, or shortly before, and maybe that's where we go out and get the best outfield bat that's on the market. That could still happen, just because we didn't make that move in the offseason doesn't mean it won't happen. We got to have a little bit of hope there that this team can at least stay in the mix. And I think the ownership will add. We've seen them do that. And I think, honestly, with what they've been given, I think the trades that, let's say, the Crawl tenure has made over the last 4 or 5 seasons, when we were in the mix, I think they make pretty solid trades at the deadline that have added to the team. So I'm hopeful there. But
yeah, the only pushback that not me, because I'm in lockstep with you, but
sure,
the devil's advocates on Red's social media would say that they were in first place for the trade deadline in 2023, and they only added Sam Maul that year, and so that is like something where they probably could have like shored up their lead a little bit more in that season instead of just kind of letting it go. And again, what are you going to do about that? That one's a hard one, right?
Do you think they were a little too optimistic about how amazing the young core was playing at that point? And I think we were dealing with some small injuries, and they kind of wanted to just ride those hot hands rather than like bringing in a veteran.
Well, and then it to me it made sense at the time too, right? Just and I because I remember what I was saying to you guys at the time was it was good that we didn't mortgage all of our guys back then, but it's hard to explain that to fans who are just tired of the consistent, mediocrity or losing and want to win. Like, and I can see both sides of that. It's not like I'm just saying one thing and then forgetting what I said 2 years before. I get both ways, but this year, while you're still got these guys for 3 or 4 more years, this is probably the year to start being a little bit more aggressive.
You got to go for it because I hate to say it, your chances of re-signing Elly De La Cruz probably aren't that great considering who his agent is and considering the amount of money he's going to be fetching whenever he hits free agency, and was it 3-4 years from now? So like you kind of have to bite the bullet and go for it, I think.
Yeah, they know that, and I guess we just have to kind of trust that it'll happen. So
yep.
Looking at the infield, I'm pretty optimistic here. I think there's a lot of solid players. I think getting Matt McLain back is huge. And, looking around at the team they've constructed, it makes sense that they parted ways with John India. There just wasn't really a spot for him, especially once you go out and get Gavin Lux. Hopefully Jeimer Candelario can stay healthy and have a good season. Christian Encarnacion Strand, same there. Whether he's a DH or getting time at first or third. I think everybody's kind of positional flexibility is something that I've heard some interviews talk about a lot, and all those infielders can pretty much play everywhere. Ellie's going to play shortstop, and Matt's going to play second when they're in there. But being able to move guys around to the corners and swap in when those other guys need breaks, and that's where your DH is probably going to be an infielder. I think that's a strength, and even catcher, if you want to count him as an infielder. When Tyler Stevenson's back, he's taken a lot of steps forward as a hitter and as a catcher, both calling games and framing, and that's not that doesn't go unnoticed, especially as a former catcher myself. I can say that, man, if these guys take a step forward from last year, we could have one of the best infields in the NL, I'll say.
Yeah, I certainly think if it all breaks correctly, Elly and McLain are going to be the best middle field combo, I think, in baseball.
If we get into specific projections after this, I've got some takes about Elly that I think we're gonna try to get some viral moments that I can point back to. Let's say.
All right, looking forward to it.
Yeah, but I'm excited. I think the infielders, especially, they're gonna be a really fun group to watch.
Lux at third base intrigues me. He looked pretty decent there this spring from the limited time he played, considering when he played like 1 or 2 games there in his career.
Right.
Encarnacion Strand at first base. I'm looking for him to have a big bounce back season. Candelario at third base. I was hoping he'd slot in more at first base personally. But the people make those decisions know a lot more about baseball and these players than I do. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch these guys, figure it out.
I am hoping that Seth does kind of become that power bat that I feel like this team has been missing. It's crazy that, for all we talk about Great American Ballpark being a great place for hitters, terrible place for pitchers, and like so easy to hit home runs, it's been a while since this team was constructed to hit home runs. We love, I think this podcast specifically, we've been talking all about how much we love the speed approach. We love the scrappy approach. We love the gap-to-gap approach there, and taking extra bags and winning games that way is a really fun way to play the game of baseball, rather than like the true outcome approach. But it seems like there should be at least 1 or 2 sluggers on this roster to take advantage of the small ballpark. I think that's something that we're missing. And like you said, maybe that's where they go get an outfield slugger or something at the deadline. I think maybe we had hoped for more from Christian Encarnacion-Strand and some of the other prospects we've had over the last few seasons. Maybe we had kind of hoped they would become big power bats. Jake Fraley, I think we expected more home runs out of him probably. Will Benson, we thought maybe was going to be a big home run guy. And that hasn't really happened. So it's weird that this team, for as talented as it is, isn't really taking advantage of the ballpark you're playing in. You know, it's almost like this team should be playing out in one of the West ballparks. It's really, I mean, if we were playing in a ballpark with like at Arizona, Steve, where you can just hit doubles all day, I mean, this team would go crazy.
Camden Yards or Comerica Park, even.
Yeah, they're constructed to do that, and they're playing in a home run ballpark, and it doesn't quite make sense to me.
Yeah, I like that they built the ballpark specifically for Ken Griffey Jr. and players like that. And then the last 10 years, we've had, I think, I'm sorry, Scott Shedler erasure, 2 30 home run hitters in like the last 10 years or so. That's one that I used to play Immaculate Grid a lot more, and that was definitely one that you could get an easy, get a nice little low percentage on was Scott Shedler.
He and Eugenio Suarez, I assume.
Yes, you're correct. So him, Suarez, and then
Suarez is on the right side of the plate too.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Did Castellanos or Winker hit 30 that year? I'm gonna look.
I think Winker got close. We can look. We have the technology to look all this up.
There's really no way to know.
It's left to time, scoreboard stuffer. So Castellanos that year, he had looks like
34.
34. Okay. All right. So we've had a couple in the last few years, but you're right, Don. It seems like we should have at least one guy hitting 20 or 25, if not more, every year, just because of how this park is built.
Yeah, Winker hit 24.
Okay. All right. So
in 2021. This is his all-star year.
I was a little high on that one then.
Yeah, no, it does seem to be kind of the missing piece to this team. You don't need I don't think we need to be like a team that's constructed fully power hitters. I think we've seen that kind of fall on its face in recent years, where if a team of power hitters goes cold, they go real cold, and there's nothing to scrap their way to wins. I like having that approach overall to be more of a scrappy speed team, but just like throw me in 1 or 2 sluggers.
Yeah,
and the answer could be Elly De La Cruz. He could be all of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the lineup, who's the guy that's most likely to hit 30 home runs this year? It's Elly De La Cruz. But I mean, if you look at a lot of the guys, if they play their potential, I think there's probably 3, 4, 5 other guys on this team that could also could hit 25 home runs, 30 home runs. That just all depends.
I agree. You want to jump over to pitchers?
Let's do it.
So I guess it's the rotation with Andrew Abbott not going to be able to make he's healthy at this point. He's just like not quite ready, is my understanding. So he's going to kind of miss probably the first couple weeks of the season. Rhett Lauder probably wasn't going to make the roster, but he's dealing with some injury too. So the rotation as it stood with those things considered, Hunter Green getting the opening day start, and then it goes Nick Lodolo. And then I believe Brady Singer, who we brought in this year in the offseason. And then the 4th spot is Nick Martinez, who I think sneaky could be your second best pitcher in the rotation. He's been great in the spring. He was so good near the end of last season, and I'm so glad we brought him back. And then the last spot they just announced, I think, is going to go to Carson Spires. So he had a great spring, and he's shown some good stretches. And I think well-deserved from him. And I think he's going to spend a lot of time on the Reds roster, even once some of those guys are healthy.
Yeah, I like the Spires pick a lot. Graham, Graham was one of the few players I posted their spring training stat line on our page. And I get it. I know what I was doing there by posting a spring training stat line because, you obviously can't read too much into a spring training stat line, especially for a pitcher, because the more established guys are just working out their stuff. Same with the hitters. Like Joey Votto was always just working out his stuff in spring training. But for a guy like Ashcraft, who was who was auditioning for that, it just wasn't good enough, So like maybe he was trying things out, but I think he can be good in that like 1 or 2 inning role in the
I'm glad Ashcraft will be on the roster. Graham Ashcraft,
yes.
started for the Reds in years past. He's still pretty young. He still has a lot of potential. We had talked about him being part of like a core 3 with Green and Lodolo as like the 3 big starters on the team, and that faded for a little bit. No doubt, he's struggled, but I think the way he throws and the way he pitches, I think could suit really well in the bullpen. I think I'm excited to see that. And with Alexis Diaz struggling before even being announced as he was injured, people were talking about Diaz not even making the roster. Hopefully, his poor performance is because of that injury. We can get into discussion about the phantom IL and whether it's a real injury or not, or he just kind of sucks right now. I'm going to choose to believe the injury is real, and that's the reason he's not pitching well. But before that was all known, there was talks that. And I guess still could be talks that Graham Ashcraft could find himself in that closer role. I don't really know who the closer is going to be at this point, but I think Graham Ashcraft could be an exciting fit there.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I don't know if I want to look at his profile and see if he would really be, because like that sinker, like that could play, as like a late inning pitch, like because if you've just been seeing fastballs all game and he's throwing sinker at you, that could definitely be something interesting there. But like,
well, yeah, we saw that with Raisel Iglesias wasn't really a 102-mile-an-hour fireballer. He had a lot of those loopy sliders and sinkers. And he was a great closer for a lot of years with both the Reds and a couple other teams. So I think that approach, it doesn't have to just be your fireballer throwing 102 at you.
So, So hypothetical situation then, on Thursday, it's like a 3-2 game, bottom of the 9th inning. You get top of the 9th inning, you got to come in and close the game out. You give him the ball to Ashcraft, or you're going to give it to Taylor Rogers or Scott Barlow, because those guys have closing experience. On the roster right now, Taylor Rogers has 83 career saves, and he leads the staff right now.
Here's a crazy take. What about Tony Santillan? I don't know. I might.
I like that. Smoke one day I was watching him. Like he looked really.
He's had a good spring, I think.
He has 4 career saves.
There you go. It's funny. Someone was talking about this. Our bullpen would have been. It looks like an elite bullpen like 4 seasons ago. Bunch of names like Emilio Pagan, Taylor Rogers, Brent Suter, guys that were. I mean, let's face it. They're a little bit past their prime. Pitching ages better than hitting does, I'll say, especially relievers. But these guys aren't what they once were. And, we're listing some of these guys. I don't know who I would turn to in the 9th, really. There's not someone that I'm like, absolutely, that guy is going to absolutely shut us down, give us the win. I don't know who that'll be. So I think we're going to expect a lot out of the starters and hopefully go deeper into games. I know Hunter Green has talked about wanting to throw 120 pitches every game. We'll see if they let him do that. But in general, I think it'd be a great thing if the Red starters could go deeper. Those are definitely our best pitchers.
The one key to me, Don, and I think it's, to me, we need to see Nick Lodolo pitch a full season.
Absolutely,
because he just hasn't like, as he's been 3 seasons in, and 103 innings, 34 innings in 23, and then 115 in 24. And it's just not like the Reds need more than that, to be honest. So and especially from a lefty who is just nasty when he's out there. Like he is lethal. But compare that to Hunter Green, 125 and 22, 112 and 23, and 150 last year, 150 innings. Like that's and Nick Lodolo, his was only 115. So, but I think like if you could get him back to where he fully was in 22 and like early season last year, I know it was a start against the White Sox, but man, he looked like really good that day. So I would love to see Lodolo kind of bounce back, but like a top 3 to me of Green, Lodolo, and Martinez would be just awesome heading into the late months. But Yeah, I am really glad though that Spires got that chance because he definitely has taken that opportunity a couple times last year, and he was really good. So I would love to see him build on that. And I'm just more interested to see what Brady Singer can do with Derek Johnson. You know,
Sure.
I'm a DJ believer. I'm a DJ stan, and I want to believe that what he can do with I want to see what he can do with a guy like Singer because he's a younger guy still. He's an interesting profile, but I you know it's just going to be one of those things where we get to like June and we're like, oh shit, are we out of pitchers again? So I'm hoping that's not the case because obviously you know you got Abbott possibly coming back and you've got hopefully Diaz will be back. Do you guys think Diaz should stay in the closer role when he comes back, or do you think it should be a best matchup thing?
Well, I the benefit of him starting on the IL is that someone else is going to have to step up in theory, and we're going to get a lot of tryouts from a lot of other guys in clutch situations, whether it's the ninth inning or the seventh inning. Guys are going to pitch in big moments, and we're going to see what that looks like. So I'm going to say if someone else has shown that they're doing great, I wouldn't slot Diaz right back into that spot.
Yeah, I would be
It's a new manager too, right? Diaz has never been Terry Francona's closer. He was David Bell's closer. So I don't think Terry feels like any loyalty into him necessarily.
I mean, I like seeing the guy in the ninth inning, the specific guy in the ninth inning you hand the ball to go get 3 outs and go win the game for your team. Alexis Diaz has proven he can be that guy. I'm not sure if the bullpen is good enough to kind of have a closer by committee right now. It just seems like there's a lot of question marks there. It's kind of my theme of this podcast when there's just question marks everywhere. I mean, the only person that right now that I would feel comfortable handing the ball to right now would be like a Taylor Rogers kind of guy, just because he has the experience and he's proven he can go out and do it, albeit 83 times. It's still a lot. I would like to see Diaz come back and grab that closer role when he does come back personally, but we'll have to see it play out.
Oh, and hey, we got someone also pointed this out today. Some of the most talent in the Reds pitching system is like the minor league bullpen, like the AAA bullpen.
Right.
Might have more talent, like young talent, than the actual major league bullpen. Raw talent doesn't really win you games in baseball like it might in, I don't know, say basketball. But you got guys like Luis May and Zach Maxwell, Big Sugar, waiting in the wings. And I think those guys are going to pitch in the Major League bullpen this season, even if they do not start on the active roster. So there is help coming, even if it's not on the roster come Thursday.
It's going to be electric whenever Big Sugar comes out of the bullpen in like 2 years, just rumbling out of that center field gate.
That video of him giving the thumbs down is incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah. Bringing back old Gladiator vibes there. I love it.
Love it. So I think, Steve, let's take it away with some projections for the season. We should give our win total and then maybe some other props and some bold prediction, that kind of thing. You lead this. Take it away.
Sounds good. So, boys, I am going to be, just for consistency's sake, I am going to be using a certain app that has a crown on it. No free ads here. So if they seem to sponsor a lot of people. So if they would like to sponsor us, our DMs are open and our email is in our profile. I would like that. So, but this is from the crown. They have the Reds over under conveniently as the same as that Fangraphs projection, Don. So over under right now, 2 days before the season is at 78.5. You're getting minus 115 and if you bet the over, and minus 105 if you bet the under 78.5. So my assumption is that we're all going to go over here, but are we in accord there?
Yeah, I think they win more than 78 games for sure. Yes.
Okay. Yep. I think I would agree with that. So, because, to me, I think 78 is a fine number, but if the magic does happen, and you win a couple more games, then your opponents here, duh. But I do think that there's going to be a different vibe this year with Tito, and if having Matt McClain back is going to be huge. Hopefully, you get Steer back at some point. I feel like the pitching can be a little bit better, so it's just they're going to depend on what the middle of that lineup does to me, where they're going to win and lose a lot of games. Because just playing in a small ballpark, you're going to have to probably score 4, 5, 6 runs a night, if not more. So
yep.
It's really dependent on what the guys after Elly do, and so for that reason, I'll go over, but I can see why the number is there. So. Now, Don, we've done this in the past, and I'm not seeing it right now. But wasn't there a lever for how, like, a range of how many wins you could select?
Yeah, it's in there. I think, or maybe they have like it broken out by like 70 plus, 80 plus, 90 plus.
Oh, I see. To win X plus games, I see.
Yeah.
All right. So if we're all over on 78.5, the team to record 80 plus regular season wins, Reds have low odds here. They are only plus 130 on this one. So, well, I mean, I guess that's pretty fair odds. So let's step it up a little bit. How about we go to 85 wins? 85 wins, the Reds are at plus 320 to win 85 games. Would you guys take that bet?
85. I think that's a good bet. To me, that's a more 50-50. That's probably around what my number would be. And I would say it'd be fun to root for them to pull that. So I would say that 85 is a good number. You remember my big I made a lot of money on to win 80 games back right after our 100 loss season.
So did I.
We did just barely get that one. But that was a great bet. That was like plus 1,000 or something.
It was 1,100.
Yeah. I think plus 320 is a good bet for 85.
Now, would you ladder it, Don, with your 75, 80, 80? Like you obviously get less juice on 75 plus. Well, the Reds are minus 180, so not great there. So, but if you were to ladder 75, 80, 85, and then if you were to get frisky and bet 90 as well, the Reds,
they don't have a market for that.
They don't even have a market for that. So that's rough. So maybe there's also a regular season wins bands for the Reds. So okay, here we go. That's 87 or more is plus 400. So I'm intrigued by that one. That seems a little bit high, but
yes, 87 seems a little too high for me. The number I have in my head is like 82, 83. That seems to be the sweet spot for this team, I think, personally.
Well, Rob, you and me, and Donnie, maybe we should all go in on this one as well. The band for 81 to 86 is plus 360, which is better odds than your 85 plus plus 320. You're trading cents on that, but if you think they can win 85 plus, give yourself a little insurance, and then you get the plus 360. So I don't know. I kind of that might be the one I go for, is the 81 to 86.
Yeah.
So 81 to 86. Do you want to do that one, Don, or do you want to stay on plus 85?
85 plus.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. And then let's keep scrolling here. 100 plus. No. So best regular season record. I don't think this is this is going to happen, but the Reds are at plus 20,000 for best regular season record.
Jesus.
So we'll see if that comes to fruition. But I want to go to their team page real quick, and let's look over a couple quick player ones real quick. So let's go to Elly and just look at what we got there for him. So these are just his stats props for the year, and I hate when they do this. So they have like the props for him for the upcoming game, but not for like the their actual, sorry, they don't have it for like his futures. So if I go to the MLB one,
you got to go to the individual stats that you want to talk about.
He's a 4,100 shortstop, guys. Come on now, what are we doing?
Yes. So here we go. So his He is the clubhouse leader in most regular season stolen bases with -120, which is crazy to me. But if you want to bet him to steal, he is one of 2 players that have a 70+ stolen bases on their card.
I've already bet that one.
Okay. I'm gonna add that too.
There you go.
Do you want to add that one, Rob?
Yeah, I think I might as well.
Okay. Plus 250. So we're all in on that one as well. And I like that one because I bet on him to do 30-30 last year, and he didn't quite reach 30 home runs. I think he could this year, but I feel like the 70 is, a good.
Yeah, if he stays healthy, I legitimately think that 70 stolen bases is well within his reach.
He could.
Well, Steve, I mentioned earlier I had a hot take, and my hot take, and it's Elly De La Cruz specific. My hot take is that we're going to be talking more about his home run total than his stolen base total this season. I think he is going to take a step forward on the power bat. I think he's worked on his swing a lot, which I'm very excited about. I think he's got a better players kind of batting around him. I think more pitchers are going to have to actually throw to him. And I think we've seen in the spring, he is striking out less. His strikeout rate has gone from 30% to 20%, basically. Which, of course, if he gets on base more, he might be stealing 80 bags, no problem. And obviously, that's a lot to talk about. But I think he could hit 40 home runs, and we're talking more about his power than we are his speed, if you can believe that. So I can see 40, 45. I mean, this kid has insane power, and the Reds know that. And harnessing that has been a huge focus this offseason. And I got to trust that, man, if he takes a step forward from what he did last year, he is a legitimate MVP candidate. And he could throw up some insane stats. So I just threw a bet on him to get 35 plus home runs. I think it was plus 300 something. I think that's a fun one to throw $5 on, or plus 390 for 35 plus home runs. I think that's a fun bet. I think he's got a great chance of hitting it.
Yeah, I'm not joking when I say this. I think when the leaves start turning colors here in the fall, Elly De La Cruz's name is going to be in the National League MVP conversation if he stays healthy. Yeah. I firmly believe that.
Well, if we want to see what his MVP odds right now are, and this is a nice one where you can just bet it at any time. It's not a prop bet per se, but so Elly's MVP odds right now are plus 1,500. That's a nice little ticket right there. If you want to bet on that. And while we're in the awards category as well, Hunter Green's Cy Young odds, I'm going to see if they're I don't see them listed at this time. So
he got votes last year.
Sorry, plus 2,200 for Hunter Green to win the Cy Young. So that would be a nice little win there as well. But that's kind of just a little rundown of what we got. So right now, we're all on the over of 78.5 wins. We are all on Elly plus 70 stolen bases. Donnie's on 85 plus wins. Steve's on 81 to 86 wins. Donnie's on Elly 35 plus home runs. Rob, is there a bet that you have been has piqued your interest?
Honestly, I haven't looked at the prop bets much. I haven't really had a chance to. I would put it probably Elly stolen base total. It's the one that I would definitely put money on for sure.
Okay.
Because what is it, 70 bags?
Well, so the 60 bags is plus 115, 70 bags is plus 250.
I'd put it on 70 bags.
Okay. I like that.
Do we have any props for players not named Hunter Green or Elly De La Cruz?
Let's do that. So
can we get a little Matt McLain action going?
So what do you so let's see if we get batting average on Matt McLain, because I'm curious. So looks like no batting average for him.
Coming off an injury, he might not be on the list because he's just too hard to predict.
Yeah. You know what the problem is? I'm not really
seeing liable swap this year too.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing many Reds on these lists for prop bets other than Elly.
So, I see Matt on the home run list.
Home run list, okay.
I think Strand is on there too. for like 20 or 25.
Okay.
Yeah, 25.
Yeah.
Steer is also, okay.
So we're, and then for
And
saves, for saves, Alexis Diaz is for plus 30 plus saves. Alexis Diaz is plus 115. I don't think he will reach that, but
I'm unfortunately going to hammer the under on that one.
Yeah. And then the ones that I find interesting are I like the race to 10 wins one. That one's fun. I don't know if the Reds would get there just because they're known to be slow starters, but they're plus 3,000 on that one if you're intrigued by that one. And their April wins over under right now is 15.5. And so that's a plus 100 bet. So maybe if you want to try and find another one for that, or you just continue to bet the money line each game and play your odds that way. But 15.5 for April is that's not a bad number. I mean, like Tito is known to.
They got a tough April shaping up though. They play some pretty good teams in April. April 1st, they play the Rangers, then they play the Brewers, then the Giants, the Pirates, the Mariners, the Orioles, Marlins, and Rockies. Those should be easy wins, hopefully. And then they close out the month with the Cardinals. I know we said not to play the schedule game, but
no, it's not the schedule game. It's more just what do we talk about? Easy win.
It's never assume that.
No, not with this team. Yeah, but so there's a couple interesting things.
Is that right? There. We just go out to San Francisco for we only have 3 games there on the West Coast. It's not like a longer trip.
It sounds about right. Yeah. Just because.
That's wild.
We don't really have a crazy long West Coast trip this year, so I'm kind of with that. I kind of like that. Like the long are. So I'm personally thinking about going to. Well, I'm thinking about going to the Rockies series in Denver, but other than that, we don't. So our real West Coast trip is in August, which is rough if you ask me. Going through August.
This April stretch is kind of rough. It looks like because they have to go to Baltimore, then from Baltimore to Miami, and then Miami to Denver. It's a lot of travel.
Yeah, that's gonna
and then back home to play the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's gonna be rough there. And then you get the Mariners at home. You get the Rangers at home. Milwaukee, and then you got to go up and play 4 in Milwaukee, and we know what a house of horrors that is for the Reds. Yeah. So at 15.5, and that's April, by the way. So that would not include the first couple of games of the week of the season.
So. Interesting. Right.
But you know what? If you guys are interested, I could be talked into other things. So maybe we come do our research and then we'll post something on the page. Yeah. Just letting our followers know at ATBBTTR what we're invested in and what we're looking at. But there's also some spicy ones out there for. You know what? Let's finish on this.
All right.
Reds to win the division. The current price for if you would like to select the Reds to win the NL Central right now is plus 650. Would you be interested in taking that?
Plus 650 to win the division.
So it's plus 650 to win the division, or for the Reds to just make the playoffs, it is plus 300. So get a little bit more security with the plus 300, but
I think obviously the
I think to make the playoffs in the NL Central, you have to win the division, because I'm really not sure if there's going to be a second team getting into the playoffs from the NL Central, considering how even everybody is. Because if you look around the rest of the National League, you got the Braves, the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Giants, the Diamondbacks. All those teams were on the precipice or made the playoffs or almost made the playoffs last year. I think you still got to contend with those teams. And I think that the NL Central is going to be a 1-team division.
Steve, one that I saw that I think is kind of interesting it was a divisional thing. Reds to finish in first or second in the division, which is, I think, actually slightly maybe lower odds than make the playoffs, because you could come in second and not make the playoffs, and that bet would still cash.
Yeah. So I do see finishing position here. Yeah, and that's
top 2 or something.
Oh, well, finish top 2. Yeah, yeah, I like that. That's not bad. That I could see that happening. Because if we're optimistic, and if I'm already on those different win totals and everybody doing well, then I can see that happening.
Yeah, if you're expecting 84-ish wins, man, that's gonna be hard to win the division, and it's gonna be hard to sneak in the wild card even at that rate. It'll be close. I mean, how many wins did the Diamondbacks have when they snuck in and won the World Series? Or
84 that year.
Say 84, 85.
So you can be at that number and make the playoffs, and I think it's pretty possible to do that out of the Central. I think we could get more than one team in.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic, so I would love to see it happen. So last year, just for reference, in the wild card series, we had the 89 win team in the Braves, and 89 win team in the Mets. So
were they the lowest team, the lowest win totals in the National League to make the playoffs? So
the lowest win total was those were the two with the lowest win total, 89. So so maybe Don's bet is better.
And we were having a hard time coming to agreement that the Reds were going to win 85.
Yeah.
So
7 games over projection.
That's probably what it's going to take to get to the playoffs. Is you probably got to have to win 89, 90 games to get to the playoffs.
I mean, I think there is a perfect storm where
outside of winning the division.
Yep.
I've been more optimistic in the past. There's a perfect storm where we could win, 90 to 95 if everything goes right. If we stay healthy and if guys do take a step forward, this team is talented enough to win 90 plus games, I think.
Yeah, I could see it.
But
I mean,
we're definitely hedging ourselves by expecting.
I'm not as optimistic as you guys are about that, but it'd be great to see it happen. I'd be tickled pink, believe me.
But I mean, that's baseball. Injuries are such a significant part of this game, and having a big roster is both good and bad. Like, there's just so many players that could get hurt, and every team there's going to be surprise in every year. Some team is going to way outperform expectations, and there's going to be some really solid, talented teams that have bad seasons. So. Could the Reds? Do I think the Reds are going to win 90 plus? No, but I think this team, as it's constructed, is capable. I'll say
it's fair, completely fair. Well, I'm locked, stocked, loaded, and ready to roll, baby.
It's been a long pod. It was good. Good to get back in the saddle.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Good to hop back on and chop it up with you boys.
Rob, I'm definitely going to try to meet up with you Thursday before the game, whether I find you in the stadium or not. But
absolutely,
have some cold ones with you before going in.
I'll be around.
Steve, we'll send you some Instagrams or something. We'll post to the page, and
sounds wonderful.
Show you guys what it's like on the ground there, so you can feel even more jealous.
Boots on the ground, baby.
Being out in Arizona.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, and let's how about we shoot for about like a month from today? The 24th of April is an off day. So next pod, let's shoot for then, and catch up about a month from now and see if our hopes are still intact or if everything is falling apart.
Stick it in my calendar.
Yep.
All right, boys. Hey, this has been fun. I'm excited for this year. Season 7 of ATBBTTR. That's crazy. Reds Country Radio, man.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just wild, man. Time flies. Let's go Red Legs, baby.
Go Red Legs.
Go Reds.